Think.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us again. This is our weekly edition of the Real Estate Backstory. We do this every Monday morning at 9 a.m. We kind of talk about like the comings, the goings, all the things happening in the real estate market here in the Atlanta area. My name is Alan Richardson. I'm the managing broker here at Maximum Realty and Realtor Partners.
My name is Ming Richardson. I'm the compliance broker for Maximum Realty and Realtor Partners.
And we're very glad that you joined us today. We have a lot of good information, cool information, good information that we want to share with you today. We do have a couple of CE classes coming up this next week. On Wednesday, we have a power hour over at our Conyers office. And that's going to be a power hour on pop buys. And so pop buys is, it's kind of one of those things.
It's a really good, and it's great for getting touch with your clients and just kind of renew your relationship.
Yeah. And then on Thursday, my lovely bride here is going to be teaching
RE contract. So for those of you that strictly use GAR form, it is good for you to know what RE contract means. So for all the new agents that are non-board member, this will be a great class for you to take so you can understand what you're writing.
Yeah, but you do bring up a really good point, and that is that even if you are using GAR forms, you're still going to get some offers presented on RE forms, and you need to understand those differences. So it's a really good class to have for that. Sorry, I'm trying to. So anyway. Now the other thing with our CE coming up this week, we kind of backed off on a lot of our CE because we have coming up next week is going to be our Tom Ferry Success Summit. And so every year Tom Ferry puts on this really big production and he calls it the Tom Ferry Success Summit. He brings in big national speakers, and it's a 3 or 4 day event every year. This year it's a 3-day event. And what we do is to try and save you from like spending like $500-600 on the ticket, flying to Dallas this year, staying in a hotel room for the week and that kind of stuff, as long as food and that kind of thing. We live stream it live in our offices the exact same way as if you actually went to the conference. So, we have all the books printed out. It's going to be up on the big screen. We're going to be live streaming it from the event. It's going to run from 10 to 6. That's going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday next week. They're going to have Seth Godin and Michelle Poehler is going to be the speakers or the keynote speakers. But of course, Tom Ferry is going to be the big attraction there. But they're also going to be going over and so this runs from 10 to 6. So they're going to be going over, what top agent stories. Tom Ferry is going to be talking about a lot of different things every single day. So we really, pray that you can join us. It really is
it's really a fun event. And honestly, we kind of shout and holler at the same time as folks that are attending live. And not only that, the camaraderie and the network that you're receive while you're here. I mean, we don't care if you're a Max One agent or any other brokerage. We just want to give this out to you guys because we believe in educating our community as well as strengthen our real estate industry. So please don't feel like you have any obligation. You absolutely do not have any obligation. We just want you to come enjoy the fun and learn. And if this is what you want to do for your professional career.
I think it's outstanding because we really like the lead systems that come out of Tom Ferry. We're also a big fan of Brian Buffini. As a matter of fact, we are still running the 100 Days to Greatness program here in our offices. By the way, anybody can come in for that as well. This week, we're all the way down on section 15 or session 15, working with the sellers, part 1. So that's going to be this week's Brian Buffini. If you haven't jumped into it, please, we can catch you up. Come into the office. Any of our branch managers can get you set up. We have the workbooks there for this as well. So we really do encourage you to kind of jump in, get the education and training that you really need to be really, really successful in this market. All right, moving on. Kind of want to jump into this is next week is the best time
to buy a home.
And so we talked about this a week or two ago kind of thing, but I just wanted to throw it out there again because we are still in a really sweet spot right now. Interest rates are low. They're not going to stay there. And so if you look at why next week is the best week to buy. So overall, property views versus the peak are down 23%. Days on market are up by 25%. Median list prices are down 6.5%. New listings are up 12%. And price reductions are more, there are more price reductions than there have been for the rest of the year. So in addition, overall active listings is 11% higher than our peak. So this is, and when you combine all that with the interest rates, next week is the best time. So we need to be going out and really kind of beating the bushes,
hammering it out, y'all.
I mean,
So,
this is a great time for our buyers here. So if this is the best time, then this needs to be the message. If you represent buyer clients, next week should just be the,
you should be writing
yeah,
contracts.
absolutely. So please be jumping on there. There's also a new study that came out, and it talked about that homeownership is the major source of wealth among families, and we've known this for a long time.
Mhm.
You know, wealth in the U.S. is based upon home ownership. It's really cool to see kind of what that works out, because it doesn't really matter what segment of the U.S. population, whether you're the 20th lowest percentage or the highest percentage, you can still see that real estate heavily outweighs overall. Real estate is a really big driver. Now, if you happen to buy a home in Atlanta, say 30 years ago, your average equity is $307,000. If you bought a house in Atlanta 10 years ago, it's worth 200, you have about $230,000 in equity. And even if you bought a house, I don't know,
5 years ago.
5 years ago, your average equity is $140,000.
How many people do you know that bought within the last 2 years is now cashing out about 100 grand on the average? I can tell you, we had a few that did that. So it's not unrealistic due to our market and the low interest rate right now.
And supply versus demand. So,
Mhm.
the thing is that when folks talk about, like, well, maybe we'll wait. Oh, we'll just rent for now. And then you see how much of wealth is tied up in home ownership, as well as equity gains and the way it changes people's lives. It's a really, really big deal. If you truly care about the communities you represent, then that is a really big deal that we have to be paying a lot of attention to. And we need to make sure that we're educating the public on this, especially for like first-time buyers, folks who are renting, that kind of stuff. Home equity is a big, big deal.
And sometimes it's about perception and how you perceive things. So if a client's never been taught about wealth building, how would they know, and how would they know to change their view and how they should look at certain thing and what their goals are?
Yeah. Now, last week, the National Association of Realtors, their emerging issues board met. And so they talked about some of the issues with making the MLSs more transparent. And so they made forth 2 recommendations, and then they asked for additional ones. And we've actually made a recommendation as well. But the first recommendation they're making is that all MLS participants and subscribers, that we can't say that our services are no cost or free to clients, because they really aren't. There's a lot
Somebody's paying for it.
I mean, there's a lot of agents who out there like I'll represent you and you don't pay me anything. And so 2 things. One is that when you buy the house, guess what? You're paying for those services. The other thing is that when we take that approach, it really devalues the entire process of what we do. I mean, have you ever gotten anything for free that was really great? And so we need to be clear about our representation, who we represent. Yeah, it is going to be included in a lot of cases with the listing agreements. But guess what? We're also seeing in a lot of cases where it's not represented.
No, and I've seen listing where co-op commissions $1 or $2.
Yeah.
And that's not a mistake, y'all. It's not a percentage, it's a dollar sign.
And so, the idea that our services are free is not true. The other side of this is that we need to be able to speak intelligently about what the services we offer and the fees that we charge, kind of thing. So if the sellers aren't going to pay, then who needs to pay? The buyers do. And we need to be very clear about that as well, kind of thing. The other thing is that they want to make sure that the MLSs can't be filtered to where you can't restrict by what commission an agent is offering. a co-op agent is offering. So if it's only offering $1, like Ming said, you can't just not have those listings showing up, or people can't search by that term. Now, I'm okay with both of those, but one of the issues I have on making the MLSs more transparent is that right now we have a lot of our national aggregators that are taking our MLS data, and I'm not going to name any names, but some of them start with a Z, and so they take our listing data, and then they put all these other agents' information that they try and sell, and you can't even hardly find the listing agent's information. And so
the actual brokerage has a listing.
And so a lot of times we don't see where the brokerage or the listing agent is listed. And that is something that we are seeing more and more through a lot of these national aggregators that we think is, I think, messed up is a good way to put it. And so, for the listing agents, their information needs to be listed, and the listing brokerage needs to be listed on there. And so that's one of the recommendations that we've made also.
And more prominent than just at the after you scroll through 50 billion pages, that's where you can find the listing agent or its broker in that very small font.
Yep. All right. Now, there was a new study done. It said, guess what couples fight about when they're shopping for homes? Number one,
pricing.
Price. Yeah. So, and with a lot of couples, you have one that might be, say, like me, and is a little bit more optimistic, right? And some folks that are going to be a little bit more
conservative.
Or yes,
this is why he's in lead generation. I'm in compliance.
Yeah, but the thing is that. And the reason I bring this up, price, location, size of home, condition, is especially when we're talking to first-time buyers. Do we need to go ahead and settle some issues with them? Do we need to go ahead and bring these things up? Like when you meet with a first-time buyer client and you start talking about price, you want to get them on the same page as much as you can. You want to start talking about location, and you want to try and work through these issues. If you don't take the time up front to work through these issues, what happens? The deal dies, right? We make an offer, we withdraw an offer. We make an offer, we withdraw an offer. And so it's one of those things where for wise agents, they know we need to have these kind of intelligent discussions right up front. We need to get everybody playing from the same page of music, because a lot of times the couples get really excited. We're going to go buy a house, and he's looking at 400,000. She's looking at 250,
or vice
versa, and the whole 9 yards. And they're just kind of going all over the place. Let's get them kind of narrowed down.
And also, I know a lot of folks are giving up on repairs, but I can tell you right now, we have a lot of buyer's remorse right now, because once they figure out how much it costs to get those repairs done, completed, guess what? The house is no longer desirable.
Now, next week, or I'm sorry, the end of this week, we have the potential for a partial government shutdown. And there's a lot of infighting. I'm not being political at all. In the past, and so I went and pulled up data from 2019, last time we had a shutdown, and tried to find some older data on there, kind of thing. And so on the past shutdowns, I found a study from NAR. It said, how impacted was real estate? And so 60% said they weren't really impacted that much. 13% had delayed transactions. Yep.
Right.
3% lost transactions. So we don't want to see a shutdown by any shape.
But we just want to kind of inform you up front, just be prepared. If you have someone that works for the government, that is paid by the government, expect either delay or a potential deal fall through.
These are the issues that happened last time, because a lot of times when you think, government shuts down, it's not going to affect us.
It does.
This is what happened last time. 25% of the deals that were impacted, kind of thing, the buyer decided not to buy because they were
uncertain of their job.
Yeah, they didn't really know how that was going to impact it. 17% because they couldn't get their USDA loans to close, because guess what? When the government shut down, we saw USDA just kind of dry up.
Yep. So if y'all have USDA loan, please get those closed before next week.
Yeah. How about closing delays due to IRS income verifications, right? A lot of your income verification, 13% of those died.
Well, I do know that some lender will make some exceptions. So just FYI.
Yep. 9% was delayed due to FHA issues. Well, another 9% was for no reason at all. And so some were federal employees, that kind of thing. And so I'm not trying to stir anybody up. I promise I'm not. But I do want to make us, like keep your eyes wide open, like because it's, I was talking to one agent and they're like, oh, government shutdown, that won't really affect us. It could affect us, kind of thing. So we got to be ready for that. Our mortgage rates this week are at 2.88. Big win. Another really, I think we've had 9 weeks now in that 2.8 range, between 2.82 and 2.89. So it's very, very like stable.
They have to keep it that low because right now, due to the price of the home, a client can't afford a home at a 4 or 5% interest rate.
Well, the challenge though is that the feds meet this week and they've already signaled that they are going to stop doing, or they're going to start curtailing bond purchases. Right now, the Fed buys around $40 billion in 10-year Treasury bonds every month, and they're really looking at turning that number down. When that happens, we're going to see prices right. Well, we're going to see the 10-year Treasury rise, which will then in turn raise the mortgage interest rates on there as well. So I am concerned to see that kind of come along.
So you may want to get your client lock in the rate.
Well, and we've actually found that there are some lenders that will let you lock in without a house. In the past, you couldn't lock in unless you had a house, but Silverton, a couple of the other guys will now give you a 60-day lock. We'll give you a 60-day lock without having a house. And so I'm going to beg you, plead with you, get locked now, because I think we'll be over into the threes by the end of the year, kind of thing. It's gonna start moving up, and not that 3 is not an amazing rate. I mean, let's just be real honest about it. 3 is a really, really strong rate. 3.5.
I remember my first one's 11%, y'all. So
I can't even imagine that we're arguing about like, oh my gosh, interest rates went up to 3.5. That's terrible. Like, okay, let's be realistic about it. But is that going to affect us? It will. Absolutely, it will. And so as such, we've seen a demand for mortgages have surged right now. And so that's a really good sign, seeing how next week is the best month for buying.
Well, the inventory is now improving as well.
Also, Fannie Mae introduced 2 new changes, updates, I guess you say, kind of thing. One is that for borrowers that pay their rent on time, Fannie Mae can now check your payment history, and that can help you qualify for a mortgage. And so if you're having challenges on credit scores and that kind of stuff, or if you don't have credit, that's probably one of the biggest ones, where there's so many folks that are just afraid to get credit, so they don't get anything. Well, now for Fannie Mae products, you can get them, or they can now review your bank statements, pull those out, and then that will help you qualify for a loan. They think it could help as many as 17% of folks who have been rejected to now qualify for a mortgage. And another change they did is that in the past, let's say Ming had a really great credit score, and I had a really poor credit score.
Sweet.
And so if that's the case, in the past, if we use both our incomes, we wouldn't have qualified because my credit score stunk. Well, now what they're letting you do is they're changing it to where it's an average of the two. So if I've got 700 and she's got 800, now we have an average 750, as opposed to if I had 700 before, or 600 or whatever kind of thing. And if I wouldn't have qualified, then we couldn't have used my income at all. Now you can. And so those are 2 new changes coming out of Fannie. At the same time, there was another study that said, what are Americans willing to sacrifice to buy your home, kind of thing.
Number 1, drinking alcohol.
That's it. We will not get tanked. Yes. We will stay home. and have a glass of sweet tea kind of thing.
Or drinking at home instead of going out.
Yeah, well, that's just drinking alcohol in there. Yeah, we're willing to give up vacations, buying new clothes, dining out, cryptocurrency investments. I think that's an easy one to go on there kind of thing. But we are seeing where home ownership is still really, really popular in the US.
Wow, they got chocolate in there. Oh my goodness.
Well, I think
Eating chocolate.
it depends on the time of, whether or not chocolate fits in there kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
All right, moving into our home builders kind of thing. Single family home building starts fell for the second straight month. This is not a really great sign for us. Right now, builders are fighting with labor shortages, material shortages, and we're in a massive housing shortage. Right now, there's 5.24 million households that we are negative on inside the US. And so, multifamily is actually improving, single family is slow. And that's not a good sign for us in residential real estate, right? Because that means that if they're going to be building more rental units, that's not good for us, right? We need to be building more single family homes. So for the second consecutive months, home sales, on the other hand, have shown modest gains. Now that was starts that I just showed you. Now we're moving into sales. And so you can kind of see that, we sold about 740,000 homes. The problem is that we need 1.5 million, which is a little over.
That's August 2021. So we still got a little more inventory to go.
Yeah, but we're not looking to hit the numbers that we have really needed kind of thing. So you can see what for the last 5 years, what overall the housing trend has been in construction. And so we still have a pretty serious deficit on that side of things. However, caveat, star, that kind of thing. We are the fourth highest market or the fourth best market in the number of single family permits issued over the past year. So those are national numbers, but here in the Atlanta market, we're the fourth best market for new construction homes in the United States, basically. And so that's a really good sign for us that we are going to hopefully have more inventory coming in, because we really need it.
Absolutely.
And this right here just kind of shows that overall, we're the fourth highest, but we have a 36% increase in homes in new construction here in the state of Georgia. And so you can kind of see where we rank versus a lot of the other US. All right. If you've been keeping up with markets, then you've heard about the Evergrand crisis out of China. And so I just wanted to throw out a little bit of information out there in case you've heard about it. Not really. So Evergrande is like one of the largest real estate developers in China. And so China is now, and this company has started so many projects that they can't even pay the interest on their $300 billion in bonds that they've issued out. And so is the government going to be bailing out? Are they not going to be bailing out? Is this going to drive, it's impacted world markets by a little bit, but this is nothing that is really looking to affect the US housing market. We're not really connected to housing in China on a direct measure. We have some investors. If anything, we may see Asian investors move more into the US kind of thing, because it's a little bit more secure. But it may affect the markets, but we're really not looking at it doing a whole lot to us here especially in Atlanta or in the US real estate right now. There is some talk in China about it being kind of that moment where is the government going to bail them out? It's uncertain whether or not they're going to bail them out. And so it's just kind of interesting, but don't let the headlines kind of stress you out. So the National Association of Realtors released Real Estate in a Digital Age, where they went through and analyzed how, as real estate professionals, how are we operating in this digital age? And there's some really interesting things that I kind of wanted to share with you guys. So, what is the first? And so first one is, what are the first steps when taking during the buying process? So 43% of all of our buyers are looking at properties for sale online. Only 18% are contacting a real estate agent right out of the box kind of thing. Another 9% are looking for information about the home buying process. So whenever we have someone who's like, hey, I'd like to know how this all works, 7% are contacting a lender or a bank, which is a great thing, but that, you can see that that's really a pretty low number. Another 7% talked with friends or relatives about how to buy, and then 6% drove. As far as what are the information sources where buyers are getting their information. And so 87% are using a real estate agent. This is great news, okay? Because, in the past, we've seen where digital, online, that kind of stuff has been increasing, but still 87% of our buyers are reaching out to a real estate agent and using the real estate agent's information. We are still doing property searches, sending those out for our clients, that kind of stuff. Now, one other one that I'd like to point out is that 76% are mobile or tablet search device searching. So our buyers are searching on mobile devices. So we need to make sure
you gotta have an app of some sort.
We got to have an app, but you also got to have, you have to make sure that all your listing information is easily viewed on a mobile or tablet device. 41%, thanks for taking the pen away from me. 41% are searching through an online video site. Again, when you put those two together, your video really has to have captions or no one's going to be able to read it. 41% are still looking at yard signs. 53% are still going to open houses. Those are big deals out there, folks. How often are they using the frequency of information kind of thing? They're using us more than anything.
Thank goodness.
Thank you. Yes, yes, yes.
So thank you to those all the realtor out there. You guys are the one that are educating your client and your sphere influence. When you do that, you actually are self-promoting. So please continue on.
Absolutely. So what is the most important website features? Number one. So all of you folks that like to take your ugly pictures with your iPhones and your droids, I'm being straight up.
There's some really good photos.
No, there
aren't. The problem is, we all know as a listing agent, your property is probably going to be sold within a week or two. Don't cheapen out the product by doing the photo yourself, because I can tell you right now, when you use a professional, not only will you will get more offers, and also if you have a desktop appraisal, guess what? Your appraisal is going to be better. So count that as your marketing dollar, and I promise you, is well worth every bit of money you put in there.
It really is. Buyers today are going through and they're looking at the properties that are sent to them. And they're like, oh, that's pretty. Let's look at that. Oh, that looks nice. Or when they if you just did level photos.
And I see one that you have to kind of turn your head this way to see the photo.
Yeah.
I mean, or upside down for that matter.
Yeah, pictures of the realtor in the mirror and pictures of the toilet seat open, that kind of stuff. Come on, let's be professionals here, kind of thing. So, one of the things that a lot of our buyers want to see is floor plans, and that's something I hardly ever see us advertising about out there. So that's something that we.
And there are services out there that will digitize a floor plan.
Yep. So how long are our buyers searching right now? So right now, our average buyer, and you can look at the breakdown of the different groups, but the average buyer is looking for 8 weeks. They're looking at 9 properties, and they're viewing 5 properties online. So they're going to go out and search for 5 properties. The average, so just so that you have some good general information for a couple of things. First one is the average buy time is 8 weeks. That's from the time when you start showing property till you get something under contract or till they walk away.
Right.
So basically, you've got 2 months to get somebody under contract. After 2 months, if you don't have somebody under contract, guess where they're going?
They think you're not doing your job. We all know this. I mean, you have buyer that, it doesn't matter what you say, how much you educate them, because they have all these chatter and all these noise in the background from family and friends telling them how great their realtor was, or what you're not doing right. Unfortunately, sometimes they, when you have that relationship with them, the more solid relationship you have, the harder it is for them to walk away. But if you just have a very
Well,
casual,
we also have to be really, really honest with them. I mean, what's this market like? You know, I have agents who like, my buyer wants to see off-market properties. Well, there are no off-market properties. Like if a property is off market, it's off market for a reason. It's got clouded title, or there's liens, that kind of stuff. But I mean, who in their right mind would list their property off market right now? Because the market is so good at the moment that it doesn't make any sense. Sometimes folks are like, well, I'm looking for foreclosures. Last time I checked, there was 9 HUD homes in the entire state of Georgia, for the whole state. So it's not like, you know, and that's relative
and once again,
to the
HUD
strength
home,
of
you have
our,
about 50 plus bidders. So,
yeah.
and it's all seal bids.
So we need to be really honest with our buyers. We need to paint a clear picture of what they're going into and prepare them. Because if we don't, like I said, we got 8 weeks to do that. Next thing is that they're looking at 9 properties before they get one under contract. But of that 9, they're looking at 5 of them online only. Okay, so really we're talking about they're going to see about 4 houses afterwards, kind of like this. 5 of that 9 are houses that they're looking at online. So, you know, we need to be taking this information and really building this into our processes for how we work with our buyers today. Now, how do our clients like to be communicated with? This is a change, because up until last month, up until last year, telephone was number 1. And so this year, text messaging has moved into the number 1 spot, followed by telephone, then email, then instant messaging, video chat, and then the old-fashioned snail mail kind of thing. So, you know, but that's one that is that you know, our general rule on this is, if a client calls me, how am I going to respond back? I'm going to call. If they text me, I'm going to text back. If they email me, I'm going to email back. I'm going to try and get them on the phone still. You can still see the phone is 90%, so it's really strong, and we need to be ready for that. What is our top lead generating technology tools used?
Social media.
Number 1, social media. Number 2, a CRM. And I find that frustrating, because really I think CRM should be number 1 in my opinion. And then after that, the MLS site, email marketing tools, listing aggregator sites, detailed ad campaigns, and then blog and business sites. So social media is kind of what the vast majority of agents are using when it comes to tech out there. So,
well, you know, it is what it is. A lot of people like to check on their family and friends and stuff like that. And so their social media is really create a hype. And also understand you're not the only realtor on social media. So your content's got to be good in order to grab that attention as well.
Very true. So there's a new report about the top 10 cities for retirement in 2021. And we made the list. Now, we only made it barely, but we made the list at number 10 on the best cities based on climate and taxes and healthcare and the whole 9 yards. So we are the 10th best city in the United States for retirees. Now, is that important for us?
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, millennials is the largest generation, but what's the second largest generation?
Your
boomers. And they're all hitting that 66 age, retirement age, when a lot of folks want to retire, kind of thing. In other news, guess what? Everybody wants to be a lender. Now this is something that we've kind of seen kind of going on, but right now, OfferPad, Open Door, Tomo, Fly Homes, Homework, Knock, and Zillow all have decided that they are now lenders as well. And if you haven't seen that kind of going on, you're going to see a lot more of that happening. And so, you know, for a lot of these big tech companies, you know, they call themselves the innovators, that kind of stuff, disruptors. They're really moving heavily into mortgage loan originations. Right. And so we're seeing where that's happening more and more right now, because they're trying to improve market share in the whole 9 yards. So I understand that. And a lot of our lenders are kind of seeing them in their space, but we've been seeing them in our space for a while now too. But guess what else they're doing? Well, there's some turnaround on that, because if you look at the lenders now are starting to try and disrupt real estate the same way. And so Rocket Mortgage, for example, is now moving into real estate, hiring real estate agents So we have lenders now that are hiring real estate agents. Better's doing it. We already know Zillow's kind of in there doing it right now as well. So, it's kind of interesting seeing the disruptors being the disrupted. We're just kind of sitting back here in the background on this anyway. The iBuyers take up a lot of oxygen in our space that but realistically, they're about 2.5% to 3% of our market.
I know, but they also advertise, they're trying to change the image and branding of what real estate is, as well as mortgage. So it's, we need to educate our client and kind of let them know what's going on in the market. So we are not left out in the dust, so to speak.
Yep.
It is a concern, and it is a thought. But one of my biggest thing is that, does this make Zillow a monopoly?
Well,
If that's the case.
I mean, we have a lot of folks in our space, and they're not big enough to be a monopoly by any means, but we know that they're trying to change the way that real estate is bought and sold. And at the same time, we in the real estate industry are kind of funding them to do this. So I'm not a big fan of that piece of it. We kind of want to wrap up today with being a neighborhood expert, because there are 9 things that we really think you should be doing if you want to shortcut into being a neighborhood expert. Like we talked about iBuyers just a minute ago, and when you look at how can we be replaced, we can be replaced when we lose our value, but being a neighborhood expert can't be replaced. Being that expert on your neighborhoods, knowing the areas where you operate, knowing things that Zillow has no idea about, knowing these other things. But how do you do that? And so the first thing that we feel that you really need to be doing is you need to be previewing listings. You need to be going in and looking at all the new listings coming up, check out all the pictures, see what's going through. All the houses in this neighborhood granite, our barrel ceilings, what stands out, walk-in closets, the whole 9 yards. Go through and really start knowing your neighborhoods through the MLS. Next is go and walk and drive neighborhoods. I know gas ain't cheap, but let's face it, until you actually drive through neighborhoods, you're never really going to know it. So you got to go out and you got to start beating the streets. And so, of course, if it's like your neighborhood, you're going to want to walk that, but you can also drive neighborhoods. Number 3.
When you walk it, what a good way to meet your neighbor, because our neighborhood, we have a lot of walkers. So that's one way of meeting your neighbors.
Yeah. So number 3 is to run your MLS inventory reports. And so both Georgia MLS and FMLS, there's all kinds of inventory reports where you can see new listings coming in the market, how long houses sell, knowing your days on market, that kind of stuff. Check all those up. Number 4, set yourself up some automatic searches on areas where you really want to be on the know. So go into like Georgia MLS, FMLS, or if you have a CRM, go in and set up your CRM to where you get emailed property updates on anything new and coming into that particular area where you want to operate.
You guys, hot sheet is not just for your client, it's for you too as well, especially if you want to be a subject matter expert.
Number 5, and I hesitate to say this, Zillow research. Now, Zillow and Redfin both are huge real estate data aggregators. On one hand, I'm not a huge fan of how they necessarily operate on some of their business fronts, but on the other, I am, I'll give them credit. Like when it comes to real estate data, they really know their stuff. They track a lot of information, and we can also help to use that information to improve our knowledge base. Number 6, and especially for my realtors out there, RPR, Realtors Property Resource. You can set up property areas and neighborhood searches, and the problem with RPR is not that you can't get information, is that you can get so much information that it just blows your brain up, kind of thing. So, but so few realtors actually take advantage of RPR, and we really, really should. I teach a class on RPR, and I recommend that you use RPR. It really is a very strong tool. Number 7, I'll let you speak to this one.
Local board of realtors. It is, it's like anything else. Anything you put in life, you'll get it back. So if you don't have, even though you're a board member, but you don't do anything with it, you're going to get absolutely nothing.
Well, and you need to go in, engage and meet and network with other real estate professionals. I'm amazed how many agents will be like, well, I don't want to go to any functions. I'm not going to sell a house to one of them. Well, no, but I can't tell you how many times that we've seen deals go through, because I get 10 offers on a property, but this one comes through and here's someone that I know from networking and from meeting at the board and that kind of stuff. And they've got their head
they're
screwed on
solid.
straight and
Right.
they do a good business. I want to work with that agent, kind of thing. Number 8 is your peers. What, who you hang with, who you're running with. Having agents who are out there engaged that you are communicating with, networking with, working with. So you need to have that, whether it's office mates, folks sharing offices or just into your offices, going to the sales meetings, those kind of things are really, really strong.
Not only that, it's empowering to know somebody's having the same issues with as you are, and also maybe have a solution instead you try and go trench through the mud and figure out like they did. So, there's empowerment in groups and also collaboration.
Yeah. And then the last one's going to be your brokers. Reach out and engage with your brokers. For like Ming and I, that's job one for us, is engaging with agents, kind of thing. And so, be willing to draw on your resources, and your brokerage and your brokers should be one of those resources for you as well. So hope today was helpful. Hope you had a good weekend, and I hope, I know the weather was amazing this past week, and so it's looking for like another really great week. I hope you guys have a phenomenal week. If you need us, call, text, smoke signals. We answer it all. And bye, everybody.
Have a great Monday, y'all.
Somewhere's an end button on here. There it is.